For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
I'm Steve Torrence, four-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion. And when me and these Capco boys win races, we go straight WFO.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Wednesday, midday surprise WFO. You know, yesterday when we signed off, we had such a great show. Alan Reinhart, we previewed the Menard's Kansas Nationals presented by Pet Armor. That was great. And then that just amazing story of sportsmanship by Troy Williams Jr. So great. I felt great about the show. But then I sat down and relaxed and I thought, man, I feel pretty good about the week to come. And then I said, I had a great conversation with Jim Campbell about the Menard's Kansas Nationals, his sponsor's race, and I did not follow up with him. And so I reached out to Jim immediately, and I was like, Campbell, got to get you on the show, man. This is it. Your sponsor's race, the big race. And so we got Jim Campbell from Jim Dunn Racing. They've been running much more consistently, going down the racetrack in the 390s and giving some of the other teams troubles. I think they got to the semifinals a couple of races ago. Excuse me. They're in the top 10. All of these things are happening. So we're going to connect with Jim Campbell just seconds from now. But before we do that, I got to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO, like Bernie's Speed Shop in Ocala, Florida, for your classic restorations, muscle cars, speed. They do it all at Bernie's Speed Shop. Go to their website and follow them on social. That's my mini action step for you guys. Just follow them on social so you can see some of the great stuff that Bernie's is doing, and then we'll get you up to speed as time goes on. Phillips Connect, smart trailer technology, phillips-connect.com. Go to the website if you're in the transportation industry. Phillips Connect has got things that are going to make you more efficient and, even more importantly, safer while out there on the roads. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, totalseal.com. Hartford and team. I just edited an episode of Hidden Horsepower, which will blow your mind. From engine blocks to blockchain, and the importance of base oil in synthetic motor oils. Amazing stuff with Dr. Ken Hope. You're going to love it when it is released. It's going through the approval processes right now. It is pretty amazing, the conversation that we had. And Lake reveals some really interesting stuff back to the days of Joe Gibbs Racing and the tandem draft. Remember when they were pushing each other around for a couple of years, that year that Trevor Bayne won the Daytona 500? Like, what about that? And what were some of the things that were going on there? You'll find it very interesting. TotalSeal.com for all your piston ring needs. And then there's FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Troy Williams won $50,000. He was using FTI transmissions and torque converters and has for the last 10 years. But that wasn't the whole story. The story was that he won the race on a timeout red light and stopped and backed up and told him to reset and ran the race again when he was totally not obligated to do so, and then won the race with a 000 perfect reaction time. That's just an amazing story of sportsmanship, and I think that in the world of drag racing, we need to hear that stuff. Not that we're in a sport with bad sportsmanship, but that was just over the top. Check out that interview, FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Later on in the show, I'll tell you about samtech.edu, Frank Hawley's drag racing school, and I'll tell you about my buddy Marvin Rodak. And if you're out there watching, of course, this is a pop-up show. This is a surprise show, so we need you to share, like vigorously, liking and sharing and liking and sharing, so everyone can hear from this guy. Joining us now, Mr. Jim Campbell. What's up, Jim? Hopefully everything is good. How are you doing? I love that mirror in the background. What a frame.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me on your show. It's always a pleasure. And you're my Cedar Point ride buddy. So we have a history of riding roller coasters together.
We really do, and that's funny in that, the thing about having like the winners, right? Like we do get locked into a couple of people that seem to win all the races. Erica Enders, Robert High, Steve Torrence over the past 4 years have made many, many, many WFO experiences. But you and I, you're right. We talked about Cedar Point, Norwalk a couple years ago. You were there riding roller coasters. We all got together. Carl Franklin, my friend. We all got together. We rode roller coasters, had a great time. And always have followed your career. But something is happening right now with Jim Dunn Racing and Jim and John and the car and you. Something has happened to make you more competitive at a perfect time going to the Menards Kansas Nationals. Menards, of course, being one of your sponsors.
It absolutely has. The last 6 to 8 races, it seems like we found something that's just made our car more competitive, like you said. Absolutely stoked that we are going into the Menards Nationals, sponsored by Pet Armor, and then all of our great sponsors, which is Menards and Choco Wafers and DePinto and KGC and Lucas Oil and everybody that makes this possible. Blaze Technologies, I got to throw them in there.
Yes.
We've absolutely found something. Jim is doing a great job. John's doing a great job. We ran Seattle last week. Jim and Diane were under the weather, so it really put a test to our team. Can we do this, period? And we did a good job on it. So I'm absolutely ready to rock and roll and see what we can do here in Topeka.
That's great. That is great news. Yeah, well, it wasn't great that they were under the weather, but hopefully they're back above the weather this week, and you don't have to give their personal health details if you don't want, but we love to see Jim and Diane out at the track.
Well, they will be back. They are feeling much better and excited to have them back as part of, the team. Diane runs the show and Jim tunes the car, and the whole team does a great job. And I've been doing a better job behind the wheel. So I think together we should be a good competitive car here down the run, getting ready for the U.S. Nationals and the countdown.
Okay, so you're in the top 10, right? It's actually a very interesting story, but you don't need to be, but you are. There are cars behind you that need to be, or they will not make the countdown, right? Like the way the countdown works with that rule that, unfortunately for Terry McMillan got named the Terry McMillan rule, which is, hey, man, we're making a tremendous effort out here. We got a big sponsor. We're showing up at all these races. These cars are not easy to run, cheap to campaign. And then we end up on the outside of our featured playoff system. So if you go qualify for a couple of runs at every race, you're going to get in no matter what. But you do that, but you're also in the top 10. Chad Green, Blake Alexander, they are desperate right behind you because if they don't make the top 10, they haven't attempted qualifying at all the races. I don't know. It doesn't really mean much, but does it? It's kind of an interesting dynamic. Like you're racing with a couple of guys for points and they're desperate.
Well, absolutely. And Blake and I have met head-to-head twice this year. We split at 1-1. Chad and I have met once, and he happened to pull it off at Bristol. Like you said, our car's been running much better. Those are all good running cars. There is really, really no bad running car and funny car. It's such a tough class to run in. To be in the top 10 on points right now just shows the effort that our team is putting in to make us a top 10 car and hopefully better during the countdown.
All right, you got an appearance. I want everybody out there, and we're building numbers. We popped up this show, and I got to apologize to you, in that we've been talking about doing this, and now we're doing it, right? Midweek, Wednesday, this is going to get hits throughout the rest of the day, and the drag racing fans in Kansas hopefully will watch it. You're going to be somewhere, right? You're going to be out there. You're going to be doing an appearance. You're going to be at Menards. We love the fact that Menards is involved with the race, with the sport. You're going to be at a store. Why don't you give us the breakdown of where you're going to be, when you're going to be, so people can start planning for that to go see you?
Yes, myself, John Force, Tony Schumacher. I believe we're all going to be at the Menards here. Let me give you the address. The address is going to be 6. Hold on a sec here.
Yeah.
6401 Southwest 17th Street in Topeka, Kansas. That'll be the Menards store. That'll be from 5 to 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. Look forward to seeing everybody out there. We do this every year, and of course, we had a couple of years off there for COVID, but it's great to be back with Menards. They're a great sponsor. Choco Wafers, which is one of our sponsors too, which are absolutely awesome. See, how do you say it? Cookie Crunch candy sold at Menards. So it's wonderful to be back, and I always have a great time going out there and hanging out with those guys and showing off our cars, and would like to see everybody come out there on Thursday.
Okay, Thursday, and the time again. Okay, so I feel like it's easy, like the Menards in Topeka. I don't want to say anything about it, like how many could there be? Right? There's the Menards in Topeka. Did you say 5:30?
It is 5 to 6:30.
5 to 6:30, hour and a half.
Hour and a half, Menards in Topeka. And let me redo that address here. I gotta.
You don't have to do it. They're like Menards in Topeka. They're gonna find it. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's more than one Menards, but we'll see. Again, that address is 6401 Southwest 17th Street, Topeka, Kansas. You can always also go to my social media, Jim Campbell FC. That's Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. That'll have the address and all that stuff on there. So really look forward to seeing everybody out there. Really look forward to doing good at this race. And like you said, it is a very, very tough countdown that we have coming up here, with some good cars that are right behind me.
Okay, so let's talk about driving funny cars, Jim. Like, we've watched your arc. You got involved with this team. You went through you're going through the process of becoming a funny car driver for good or for bad. And you said just a minute ago, which I loved hearing you say, I'm driving better now, right? This is not easy, what's going on out there. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned that you can share with us?
Well, I have a great mentor in Big Jim Dunn, and he always keeps me in line, which I'm excited about. But he tells me when I do good, and he tells me when I do bad. And so I take that deeply to heart, and I want to do the best that I possibly can inside the car. These guys spend a lot of time setting up the car, and the car is going to do what the car is going to do. The driver needs to make sure that he does what he's supposed to do, and that's take off on time, keep it in the middle of the groove, and deal with any emergencies en route.
Yeah, exactly. And those starting line reaction times, obviously a big part of it as well. But that comes from knowing the car is going to go from A to B, right? Like confidence. And that's what I think, as not even a casual viewer, as someone who's there specifically to view, when the car's going down the track now. And so everybody is feeling a little bit better, and you can hone in on things that you can't when the car's not going down the track.
That is correct. And, every time the car goes down the track, we get information, and information is what makes these cars run, and consistency. And the last, like I said, 8 races, we've been much, much more consistent. We're back to a mid 390s car, which is absolutely awesome. And we want to make sure that everybody knows in our class that we're somebody to contend with.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the team has also done a great job on the marketing side of it. And I don't know, you probably are like, it's great compliment and all, but we want to go some rounds. And you have been. A couple of races ago, I think, got to the semis. Everybody was super excited about that and going those rounds. You're in the top 10 for a reason, showing up. But having a great marketing team is not the only reason you want to be known as a funny car driver. So let's look forward. You got it's going to be hot. It's going to be blazing. You mentioned blazers. It's going to be hot out there. Do you feel like that comes to you, that puts it in the wheelhouse of Big Jim Dunn and his tuning ability?
Absolutely. Well, the one thing that Jim Dunn is really, really known for, besides, being around for 60 years and being a legend of the sport, is he's known to get a hot car or get a car down a hot track. And like you said, this is going to be a very hot weekend. We had a very hot weekend in Seattle just last week, which normally is 75 degrees, and we go out there and scream. It was very tricky to get the cars down the track when it's super hot and the track's slick, and you know that. So looking at the predictions at 100 degrees on Sunday, that's a 135 degree track temperature. It takes some finesse, and Jim Dunn's got the experience to definitely do that.
All right, we got a question from one of our listeners out there for Jim Campbell. Jim, you're a fan favorite. I don't think there's anybody that hustles with the fans more than you do out there, whether it be sticking around on the starting line after it's over and going over and just like kind of being ready to help out if somebody needs it. Like that's kind of your rep out there. Here's a couple of questions. And if you got a question for Jim Campbell, put it up in the chat section. Let's see what you got. Like Lonnie, just curious if Jim uses a practice tree simulator in the rig at the races. What about that, Jim? Like practice tree simulator, like how do you make yourself ready to race?
Well, I have two ways that I do it. One, I sit down in the car prior to me even getting in the car and just sit, close my eyes and try to focus exactly what I'm going to do, close my eyes, go through all my emergency procedures, make sure that I know what I'm doing. On the other side of it, the practice tree part of it, I have a porta tree that I do practice on. You know, there's two different sides to practice trees. There's really no way to simulate a lit nitro funny car and the pressure and everything that goes on it. Everything else is muscle memory, but doing a practice tree is good. Sometimes it affects you the other way because you get so clicked in on that practice tree that you got to remember you're in a real car when you're at the starting line. So it's two different worlds, but it definitely does help that eye-hand coordination and foot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for your question. Emrant says, good luck, Jim. Gary must have just read my new article in National Dragster. It's great to hear that it is out. Thank you, Gary, for that note. I appreciate that. Let's talk about that fan activity, though. When you came into the sport, my opinion of you was, and I mean this in a positive way, a desperation to stay there, right? Like you have chased and achieved something that you have been working for, and now you're there, and you knew that you had to connect with every single person in a positive way and sign every autograph that you possibly could in what I deemed like a positive desperation. The want to factor was 100% to stay there. I haven't seen you slow down. So what is your status right now? Like, how do you feel about the way things are going, where you are in the sport, and your fans, because you certainly have them?
Well, I'm absolutely excited. I am a fan-friendly driver. I'm just generally a people lover, and people come out and spend their hard-earned money to come out and watch us race, and I believe that they deserve a friendly driver and somebody takes the time to listen to them. They enjoy our sport. Not only am I a driver, but I'm also a fan, so I understand where they're coming from, and I could not be more happier than the fans that follow me, and they take really good care of me. They say nice things. And again, anybody that wants to come to my pit and I'm out and about, I'm more than happy to sign autographs for them, talk to them. Love having the kids out there. They're the future of our sport. So I really like to indulge with them. And I also like to help out with the junior dragsters because, like I said, this is part of our sport and this is the future of our sport. And we want to keep it going forever.
What do you hear out there from those folks? Like, what are you hearing? Like, like Jim and I talk a lot at the track, but we don't really get this time, guys, to like, he's busy, I'm busy, we're busy, we're moving around, hey, what's up? Whatever. Like, what are you hearing out there, Jim? Is it generally positive?
It really is. I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, listen, you guys are doing a great job. And of course, Jim Dunn's a legend, so everybody knows him. Jim Campbell would love to become a legend, but it takes time just to be in this class and racing with these types of drivers and these professional drivers that are all extremely good. Like I said, our class is not an easy class, so just to be part of this competitiveness is a dream come true for me. And if I can share that dream with anybody else or help anybody else accomplish the dream that I've accomplished, I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. You got to give back. Awesome. Hey, Jim, we experienced our first time in a dragster this past weekend. I don't know who it is, but he's basically talking about what you're talking. And Derek says, what does Jim do away from the track? What about that, Jim? Like, what do you do away from the track? Okay, you're home on Monday night. What do you do?
Well, I have a couple of things that I like to do. I live in Huntington Beach, so the ocean's not too far away from me. So I like to do a lot of bike riding. I like to do some surfing. Haven't got to surf as much as I wanted to. I'm also a pilot, so I like to go out and fly now and then and see what's going on around Southern California.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Now, SoCal guy, right? The birthplace of drag racing, where it all goes down out there in Southern California. It was Welch Racing, is who it was. Thank you very much. Well, how about that? You are strictly a funny car driver, or would you ever run a top fueler if the opportunity presented itself?
Oh, I never say never on anything. I think funny cars, that's what I grew up on. That's what I learned to drive in. And I learned to drive with a laid back header. So in those days, I'm saying those days, we're talking 5-6 years ago, not long ago, these things were a handful. They're still a handful. So would I drive anything? I think I would drive anything with four wheels if presented the opportunity.
There it is. AJ says he loves when you drive the Moon Eyes car. Yeah, everyone, of all the paint schemes, wraps that you guys have, and frankly, you're probably the most, that one is the one that I would guess gets the most love. But you tell us, what gets you guys the most love over there at Jim Dunn Racing?
Well, Moon Eyes has been with Jim Dunn Racing for over 30 years. Everybody over there is absolutely awesome. The cars are always beautiful. And let me give a shout out to Jon Dunn, who does a lot of the marketing and stuff. We always have a awesome looking car, no matter what sponsor comes on board for that race. Kindness General Contracting that we run in Vegas, beautiful car. The Pinto car this year is beautiful again. So every car we bring to the racetrack looks absolutely awesome. So they really take a lot of pride and joy in making sure that we bring out a presentable race car and a competitive race car.
All right, I'm going to put you in a weird spot here, right? Like Jon Dunn. I think Jon, he's in a weird position, right? Because his dad is this amazing legend that has been around and consistently involved in the sport as long as or longer than anyone, and has got this really cool name and reputation. And there's Jon, and Jon is like doing everything there, but in, how do I say it? Like in tribute to his dad, like, not seemingly, wanting to gain attention for what he's doing. He's very eager to let his dad be the legend and do what he can do behind the scenes. Of course, his daughter, Jonna, is very well known out there. But I don't know. I think Jon Dunn, at the same time, deserves more notoriety. So give me your assessment of what I just said from being inside of the team and that dynamic.
Well, the Jim Dunn Racing team is phenomenal. Jim Dunn's the legend. It's his passion. Jim's just brilliant. He's got more knowledge in his little pinky than I'll ever have in my head. Jon does a great job on marketing, and Diane Dunn, who is the mother of the team. She runs the show. Jon is helping out with the clutch. We've got a good crew in Randy and Hunter and Mario. Everybody puts their heart into this. But Jon doesn't take all the notoriety that he deserves, because he really goes out and hustles and finds us great sponsors, treats everybody extremely well. And that's the one thing that we get a lot of compliments for, is when we bring in a sponsor, Jon, Diane, Jim, myself, we make sure that sponsor feels comfortable and enjoys their time at the drag races, because we want to keep them for years to come.
That's great. That's great. Okay, Lonnie wants to know your racing idols growing up. Okay, so let's hear it.
Racing idols growing up, listen, you got to throw Big Daddy Don Garlitz in there. Watched him for years. I do get to see Shirley Muldowney at the races now and then. Don Perdome, Tom McEwen, and I got to throw my boss in there, Big Jim Dunn. I've never seen more of a cool car than a rear engine funny car.
Yeah, right. The rear engine funny car. Okay, so on that note, right, like you grew up in Southern California. Like, are you a California guy?
I was born in Phoenix, but I've lived out here for about the last 40 years. So I guess you could call me a SoCal guy.
Okay, so first drag strip experience, Jim. Like, go back. Even if I asked you in the past, like what Mike Salinas tells a story about selling the programs, right? At like Lions or somewhere, like being a kid, got a gig selling some programs to be there. What about you? Like your early drag racing experiences, where's that moment that it all clicked and you said, oh gosh, this is what I want to do?
Well, it started, I'm 59 years old, so I'm not a kid. I was born in Phoenix, and I dragged my parents out at the time to Beeline Dragway, which was out in Scottsdale, out on the reservation. This was long before Firebird and Wild Horse Pass and all that stuff. Dragged them out. Moms usually don't like stinky, smelly, nitro burning rubber cars. My dad enjoyed it a lot. He saw the thrill that I got. I'd stand on or sit on his shoulders and look over the fence. And just watching the nostalgia cars, even to this day, I still love watching the nostalgia cars. And it just, one day I said I would love to be in that seat. And over time, a little persistence. And one of your sponsors, who happens to be a very good friend of mine and one of the best teachers out there, Frank Hawley, gave me an opportunity to drive the alcohol car. Did it pretty well. And went out and got my nitro license, and the Dunns and I just happened to click. We hooked up, and it's been awesome ever since.
So many people have gone through Frank's school, and I push the dragster adventure because I figure that, maybe not everybody wants to be a funny car driver, but everybody wants to have an amazing experience for an afternoon. And that dragster adventure that they do, I think, is great. So, but I'm still not understanding. So you dragged your parents out there. So you were the little kid who said, Mom and Dad, I want you to take me here to the drag strip. But how did you even know it existed? You know what I mean? How did you know that drag racing was even a thing? How did you know that you even wanted to go enough to lean on your parents? Because like my parents dragged me out to the track when I was little, and I was afraid to fall through the bleachers, right? Like it looked scary down there. I didn't have any kind of say in it. They took me. That was forced upon me, and I enjoyed it. But how does the little kid become aware of drag racing?
Well, I've always liked fast cars. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. And then when I saw the first commercial they were having a night of fire, and it was funny cars, dragsters, and I think there were a couple jet cars out there. And I said, Dad, we got to check this out. This looks awfully cool. And after a little, coercing, he said, okay, well, let's go out there. I think he enjoyed it a lot too. And of course, Mom's like, I'm ready to go, but she did stay with me, and my mom. So love having women in the sport, love having, the young ladies and the moms and stuff like that come out and support their kids. My mom did the same thing for me. So after that, I absolutely, the first hit when they came out just made me addicted to drag racing.
Yeah, well, I think we all are. And it's funny. That's the Castello plan, like the day that they come to me and say, we're going to give you a budget to institute the Castello plan for the growth of drag racing. One of the cornerstones is to make it more comfortable for people like your mom, right? More comfortable for people like your mom. Like, where am I going to go to the bathroom at this place, right? We're going to be there 6 hours. Where am I going to go to the bathroom at this place? In a shed with a trough and like flowing water on the ground, not like so many years. And I've been to so many places. No, make it more comfortable for people's moms to be at the track, someplace that's covered. Oh my gosh, there's like a little covering that we can get out of the blazing radiation. Maybe some misters. Let's add some misters out there, like get a little mist going, right? Just to cool it off. So for people's moms, that's part of my plan, not the whole plan, but part of it. I give some of it away here on the show, as you know, Jim. All right, so let's look ahead. This weekend, Kansas. As you go into a race, like Don Schumacher would always tell me, we got to get qualified. That's our goal. We got to get qualified. Q1, get down the racetrack. How do you approach this race? Your sponsor's race, showing up here, doing real well. You got an opportunity, running better than you have in a long time. Going down the track more consistently than you have in a long time, driving better than you have in a long time as a result of all those other things, in the heat where others are going to struggle. And, Jimmy Prock can't use all of his 15,000 horsepower, and it's your sponsor's race. So take that. How do you handle this? What's up? Q1, Q2, take me through your process.
Well, we approach this just like any other race. First off, every race is very important to us. Being a Menards race and having all of our sponsors there and stuff, we want to do extremely well. So Jim will go out there. We'll plan on running a good A to B run on Q1 to make sure we get down the track. So definitely want to get qualified. You can't do anything unless you qualify. Once he gets some numbers from that, and we've looked at the forecast, and if it stays the way it is, it's going to be hot, period, all weekend. So if we can get some good, consistent readings off the computer, then he can make the adjustments to wherever he wants to set the clutch. We were number one qualifier in Q2 in Sonoma. We were the only cars that made it down the threes, and Jim made those adjustments to get us right through the middle where everybody else was spinning the wheels. We don't always have the fastest car, but we have a consistent car right now. And we also have a fast car, or faster. And I think everybody's out to notice, and everybody knows Jim Dunn's reputation of getting a funny car down a hot track. So that definitely plays to our advantage. And like you said, the Jimmy Procs and the stuff like that, and the bigger teams, they can't go out there and try to drop a 384. It's just not going to pull it off in the heat. So if we can get A to B, I think this can be anybody's race.
That's it. I agree. Okay, Lonnie says, wish they'd do a Funny Car Summer 2 documentary on Jim. I saw the original in the theater when it was released. I own it on DVD. Big Jim signed it for me. Way to go, Lonnie. That is super cool. I've seen clips. I got to admit, I like, like a start to finish viewing of Funny Car Summer. I haven't done, but I will. And here's one. We're going to end with this, right? With the exception of, we'll promote the appearance one more time. But Scott Bell wants to ask you a tough question, right?
Okay.
Who would you most like to put on the trailer? Something we don't talk about all the time in drag racing. Like, we're talking about points and winning the Wally, but the personal satisfaction of beating the other person in the other lane. Like, who is that person? I want to beat them. Like, that's a big part of drag racing. Shirley loved to beat Garlits. Garlits love to beat Coletta. Like, these guys love to beat those guys. And yeah, you got to go on the record here. Who, for Scott, who would you most like to put on the trailer?
Oh, whoever's in the lane next to me. It's one of those things. It doesn't matter. Somebody asked me the question, and Jim gave me a great answer one time. He goes, what's the best opponent to have? And, of course, I'm saying John Force's stuff. He goes, no, B-Y-E. So if you get going to the next round, which I thought was quite funny. Everybody that I pull up next to, I want to put on the trailer. Of course, there's the big names, the John Forces, the Robert Heights, things like that. Ron Capps has had my number. I'd love to put Ron on the trailer. But anybody who pulls up in the lane next to me, we're all friends till we put on the helmet. And when we put on the helmet, we become competitors. And when we take off the helmet, we're back at friends. And the main thing is that we all have a good time. We make it down the track safely, and we get out and do it again. But it really is a tight-knit family in NHRA, and that is one of the coolest things about NHRA, including your tickets at Pit Pass. So I encourage everybody, when they come out, to please come out and check out the teams, watch them work on these fabulous machines, and you get a chance to talk to the drivers. And there's no other motorsport on the planet in the world that you can do that.
Now, Jeff wants to know if you would ride a Nitro Harley. Is that a road too far?
Well, we've talked about certain things that I may or may not drive. The two that I would be a little hesitant from would be a Nitro Harley, which those guys, I drive a funny car and I still think they're crazy. Anytime you got to put on a flak jacket, drive a motorcycle, you're in trouble. And maybe a top fuel boat. I might be a little hesitant. I might take a hit to but those are a couple of crazy types of vehicles to run. So I think we would have to wait and see and be how much courage I had that day.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. But I concur with both of your choices as things that might be a road too far. The boats, the drag boats. Wow. Amazing. Scary. Just, yeah, absolutely. Any final message to the audience out there, Jim?
Well, I want to thank everybody. First off, Joe, thank you. I always have a pleasure talking to you at the track. And like I said, you're my Cedar Point buddy. I do want to remind everybody about our appearance at the Menard store at 6401 Southwest 70
17th
Street in Topeka. I'm not sure if they have more than one Menards. That's why I'm giving the address. This is a great chance to come up and talk to us one-on-one. Sometimes at the track we get a little bit busy. We don't always get to spend as much time that we'd like to with the fans. This is a great opportunity. And come out and check out Menards. What a cool store. I mean, they're massive and they carry everything.
They really do. And you got some other drivers going to be there also. So it's, everyone's going to be going there to see Jim Campbell, obviously, the Menards driver, but a couple other drivers in case they have fans out there in the audience. Tell folks who they are.
I believe John Force, Jim Campbell, and Tony Schumacher. So it's a pretty cool crowd to hanging out with the guys that got 24, 25 world championships. Jim just wants to win a race. But absolutely love it. And don't forget, it's from 5 to 6:30 on Thursday. Tomorrow, if you're watching live. If you're watching on Thursday, it's today. And if you're watching on Friday or in the future, you missed it. You missed it. All right, Jim, I'll see you this weekend. Thanks for doing it. All right, Joe. Thank you very much for having on your show. And thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you in Topeka. There you go. Say WFO to this guy when you see him, guys. Bye, Jim. See you soon. Thank you, Joe. There goes Jim Campbell with us here on WFO Radio. How about that? I haven't done one of those in a while. Like Jim is working so hard, guys. Hopefully you see. And that car is out there at every race. Well, we need more cars. We got to have more cars. We need more cars. There's a car that is out there every race. They've stepped up their performance. They've stepped up their consistency. They're turning on win lights. Jon Dunn says, Jim's driving it straight down the track. And when you get it straight down the track, you can do a lot of things. They've had some upsets. They've gone to some semis. They're in the top 10. But I want to focus on that interesting with you guys now. And please put your comments in the comments section, your thoughts about what I'm about to tell you about, right? Now, I got to give credit to Elon and Elon is now a first name guy. Okay. Elon Werner has been involved in the sport forever. He's a lifer. He's a great guy. Has been very helpful to WFO behind the scenes, but he's a sports geek is really what he is, just like the rest of us, right? And crunching the numbers in Sonoma. And he says, the way I see it, Jim Campbell makes the countdown regardless because they're showing up at every race. But Chad Green and Blake Alexander, who are right behind Jim, don't. If they are outside of, if Chad finishes 11th and Blake finishes 12th, as they are now, they're not part of the countdown. Not part of the countdown. They haven't showed up at every race. They haven't made qualifying runs at every race. That's the rule, right? So they would be on the outside looking in. They want to be in the countdown. I mean, why not, right? But at the same time, if Jim were to fall outside of the top 10, they will still be in the countdown. So he can, through holding on to the top 10, can make it from a potentially 12-car countdown to only a 10-car countdown. He can reduce the field by blocking them from their spot because they would have to pass him. I think that's worth watching. It's kind of an interesting angle. Something extra that is going on out there in the NHRA. And also we got the Pep Boys All-Star call out, Wilkerson trying to get the final spot, all of that stuff. Let me tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO. And then, first of all, yesterday, Troy Williams Jr. If you didn't watch the show, go check out the show. Alan Reinhart is great. But at the very end, Troy talks FTI, performance transmissions and torque converters, but only after we talk a little bit about $50,000 win. Connolly won the $100,000. This is a Tyler Bohannon race, final one of the year, I think. And that's right, 50,000, 100,000. That's huge money out there. Troy talks FTI because he works there, but really he talks about sportsmanship and drag racing is really what he talks about. I think you should check it out. It was great stuff. Total Seal piston rings, leader in ring seal technology. What they always tell you is make them your first call. I'm going to build an engine. Well, call them. What are you going to do with this engine? I want it to be 3,000 horsepower and I want to be able to drive it through the prescriptions drive-through at Walgreens. Oh, well, you're going to need something different. Oh, no, we're going to be competing at the highest level of NHRA drag racing. Oh, well, then it's a different thing. So
they often tell you it's counterintuitive, but your piston ring phone call should be first because they've got years and years of experience with engines, engine building, machining, and they can help you start out that process. Make them your first call. Even if you're looking for an engine builder or assembler, like that's the kind of company they want to be. You're out there. I want to go bracket racing. I live in Florida. You could go bouncing around your local racing community. You could call Total Seal. Who are your great customers down there? Who's got the best machines down there? Who knows how to work the machines and is like constantly updating their stuff? I think that is a great way to go about it. So Keith Jones, Lake Speed, and Hartford over there at Total Seal. Phillips Connect, Phillips-Connect.com, smart trailer technology. I put up this graphic all the time because it's just so cool to see all the different things that they are able to connect via the internet, whether basic stuff like tire pressure or whether the door is open, right? How many times have you been behind the tractor trailer with the door open in front of you? And the door is going up and down and you're wondering, oh my gosh, is something going to come rolling out of that? Those are the people that need the smart trailer technology that Phillips Connect offers. The driver will be, oh, the door's open. Beep, go over there, close it. Safety. Bernie's Speed Shop, Ocala, Florida. Bernie's. All I would like for my audience to do at this point is go to their website, Bernie's, BURNYZZ.com. Follow their social. Instagram, Facebook, follow their social. Learn more about all the great projects that they have going, from classic restorations, frame offs, props, movie props, all of those things. I use a different word. No, movie props. They do a lot of stuff at Bernie's, and you'll be very surprised and end up loving it. Thanks to Josh Hart. Plus, samtech.edu. I mentioned Total Seal and knowing the people who know how to machine and the people with the right machines. Listen, that whole ecosystem needs to be replenished. All you young folks out there, veterans who are just out of the military, you can use your GI Bill at samtech.edu. Learn how to become a machinist, CNC programmer, motorsport EFI tuner. They've got so many great things over there. That's why I love talking about Samtech. Hopefully you notice that all of our sponsors are things that I think are generally positive and add as opposed to subtract. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School also already got some love. Jim Campbell. A single-day experience called the Dragster Adventure. Go out there, drive dragsters, hang with Frank. A lot of fun. Great stories up there on the web right now about the Powicks going out there. Kyle and Cassandra going out there, like taking the next step, driving. I like it. Now, that doesn't mean the cowboy should step out of the seat now. And that's not what I'm saying. FrankHawley.com. And then there's Marvin Rodak. RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com. How am I able to do a surprise show like that? Well, I'm loaded up with Rodak's Coffee. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Hey, Marvin, what's up? And he'll be around for the Stampede of Speed. I have no doubt. Plus, there's our Patreons. This is our VIP listener club. You're not obligated to do this in any way. And frankly, it's a passion play for WFO. If you really love the show, you want to join the community behind the scenes, you want to meet all these people that are chatting on our deal, then you want to be part of the community that is WFO. This is for you. Yeah, you got to pay. It's a thing. You pay. And I use the money to pay my internet bills and all of that stuff. Patreon.com/WFO radio. Yeah, I try to not hold back things from the audience. I try to just tell everybody what the truth is and let them sort it out for themselves. Either you're going to like it or you're not. You're going to like the guest or you're not. And so far, people like it. Hey, we got a store too. Long sleeve t-shirts. Winter's coming, guys. Just kidding. I don't mean to do that to all you Northerners out there. We got a lot of WFO gear out there, some new designs as well. And I got my retro Miami Hollywood Speedway design that is up there. I had so many people asking about the classic track, Miami Hollywood Speedway. We put the logo on some shirts, and I think it is an awesome retro drag racing shirt. You can get mugs, stickers. Got more swag than they even had back in the day. Hollywood, Florida. Really cool. Congratulations to Connolly, 100K. Troy, 50K. Love the big Mounty bracket race scene. Let's see what people have to say out there. No Topeka predictions? No, I'm staying away from predictions. I remembered why I don't make predictions, because I'm not good at them. Hey, Fast Eddie, way to go. You joined this morning. I saw your email. Thank you very much, Mr. Excitement. Thanks, Joe. Great show. Liked it on Facebook this morning. Bernie's, baby. Great show yesterday and today. Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate you, man. Don't forget, join us on the Ignition Show, Eddie. Jim was good. Jim, the guy's a good guy, man. Like, he does the driver role right. He reaches out to the fans. He spends time with the fans. He understands that they view the person in the cockpit as this hero who's doing something crazy that they'd never be able to do. And he gives them that opportunity. Yeah, sorry, Scott. I didn't mean to do that. Winter is coming. No, go out there and melt right now. And most people I know. Oh, look at that. The Storm is having a sale. There's a sale at Penny's. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time. See you in Topeka. Go out and see Jim and Force and Tony Schumacher, the most recent winner on the tour, at Menard's, 5 to 6:30 tomorrow. Later, guys.